My name is Susan Jones, and I'm 37, living in the leafy suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia, where the air smells of magnolia and ambition. For the last 12 years, I've been the heartbeat of our home, keeping everything just so for my husband, Nathan Hayes, a cardiologist with a reputation as golden as the Georgia sun. Our life looked picture-perfect from the outside. Big house, shiny cars, invitations to all the right charity galas. But one evening, as the cicadas hummed outside, Nathan walked through the door and tore that picture to shreds. It was late, the kind of late where you've already reheated dinner twice and given up waiting. Nathan tossed his keys on the counter, his face tight, like he was carrying something heavier than his usual hospital stress. "Susan," he said, not meeting my eyes. "I want a divorce. I'm marrying someone else." My heart stopped. The room spun a little, like I'd been sucker punched. "What do you mean, someone else?" I managed to choke out, my voice barely above a whisper. He finally looked at me, his eyes cold as steel. "Lauren. A nurse at the hospital. She's different. Live. Not like you." I stood there gripping the edge of the kitchen island, the granite cool under my palms. 12 years. 12 years of ironing his shirts, cooking his favorite pecan-crusted salmon, hosting his colleagues for dinner parties where I smiled and played the perfect wife. And now he was calling me dull, a placeholder. "When did this start?" I asked, my voice shaking. "A year ago," he said, shrugging like it was nothing. "We didn't marry for love, Susan. You know that. It was an arrangement. My parents wanted me settled. And you? Well, you were convenient." Convenient. The word stung like a slap. Our marriage wasn't some grand love story, sure, but I thought we'd built something real. Growing up, my parents, a retired teacher and a small business owner, raised me to believe in duty, in making sacrifices for family. When they introduced me to Nathan, a rising star from a wealthy Atlanta family, I saw a chance to make them proud. I'd been a graphic designer, freelancing and dreaming of my own studio, but I gave it up to be the wife Nathan's family expected. We even shared a last name, Jones, which felt like fate at the time, a silly detail that made our rushed engagement seem meant to be. We barely knew each other, but I poured myself into our life, thinking loyalty would be enough. "How could you do this?" I asked, tears burning my eyes. Nathan's face hardened. "You're not exactly exciting, Susan. Living with you is like existing. I'm done." Then came the real bombshell. He leaned against the counter, casual, as if he were discussing the weather. "Oh, and we don't need to go through a legal divorce. I never registered our marriage. We're not legally married. Never were." My knees buckled. I sank into a chair, my mind racing. "What?" I whispered. "We had a wedding. Rings, vows, our families." He smirked, a cruel edge to it. "Yeah, I was supposed to file the paperwork, but I didn't. You were so busy playing housewife you never checked. It's not my fault you trusted me." I felt like the floor had vanished beneath me. 12 years, and I was nothing more than a live-in housekeeper in his eyes. He went on, twisting the knife. "I set rules, didn't I? You handle the house, I handle the official stuff. You got a nice life out of it. No job, no worries, just my money. You should be grateful." Grateful. I wanted to scream. Instead, I asked, "Why didn't you register it?" His answer was chilling. "I didn't want to be tied down. I was saving marriage for someone I actually loved. You were just there, a good deal. A homemaker who didn't ask questions." I thought of my parents. How proud they were when I married a doctor. My dad's medical supply company even landed a contract with Nathan's hospital because of our marriage. And now Nathan dangled that over me like a threat. "Don't tell my parents about this," he said, his voice low. "You know what'll happen to your dad's business if I pull some strings at the hospital?" I stared at him. This man I'd shared a bed with for over a decade, now a stranger. "You're threatening me," I said, my voice steady despite the rage boiling inside. He laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "It's your fault for being so naive. Get out, Susan. Nothing's in your name. Pack up and go." But as he turned to leave, something shifted in me. I'd spent years making his life perfect, dimming my own light to keep his shining. No more. I wasn't the naive housewife he thought I was. For months, I'd had a gnawing feeling about his late nights and sudden conferences. I'd already taken steps, ones he didn't see coming. As he walked out, I wiped my tears and whispered to myself, "You're the one who's pitiful, Nathan. You just don't know it yet." The weeks after Nathan's betrayal were a blur of anger and grief, but beneath it all, a fire started to burn. I wasn't going to let him walk away with everything while I was left with nothing. For months, I'd suspected something was off. His late nights at the hospital, the way he'd snap at me for asking simple questions. I ignored it at first, chalking it up to stress. But one morning, after finding a receipt for a dinner I hadn't attended, I couldn't ignore it anymore. That's when I hired a private investigator. A gruff guy named Tom, who looked like he'd seen every kind of betrayal Atlanta had to offer. Tom didn't waste time. A few days later, he called me to a diner on the edge of town, sliding a manila envelope across the sticky table. "Susan, I've got 2 things you need to know," he said, his voice low. "First, Nathan's been seeing a nurse named Lauren. They've been spotted at hotels, restaurants, you name it. I've got photos." My stomach churned as he showed me grainy images of Nathan and a woman with sleek blonde hair, laughing together like I didn't exist. "Second," Tom continued, "I overheard them at a cafe. Nathan told her he never registered your marriage. Said it means he can walk away clean. No alimony, no property division." I felt like I'd been punched again. "Not married," I whispered. "We had a wedding, Tom. A dress, a cake, our families." He nodded, his eyes kind but firm. "I know it's rare, but it happens." "He handled all the paperwork, right?" I nodded, my face burning with shame. I had trusted Nathan to file our marriage license, never questioning why he insisted on managing all official matters. "So, I've got nothing?" I asked, my voice cracking. Tom leaned forward. "Not quite. Georgia recognizes common law marriages in some cases. If you can prove you lived as a married couple, you might have a shot at alimony and assets. Let's make him regret this." That conversation lit a spark in me. I wasn't just fighting for money. I was fighting for the years I'd given up, the dreams I'd shelved to be Nathan's perfect wife. Tom connected me with a lawyer, Sarah Bennett, a sharp woman with a no-nonsense attitude and a knack for taking down arrogant men. Sarah explained that Georgia's common law marriage laws could work in my favor if I met 2 criteria: mutual intent to be married and living as a married couple for a significant time. "You had a wedding, right?" she asked. I nodded, picturing the church, the white dress, our parents' tearful smiles. "And you've been together 12 years, sharing a home, finances, social life?" I nodded again. "That's enough," she said. "We'll need evidence. Photos, joint accounts, anything showing you were seen as a couple." I spent weeks gathering proof. I dug through old photo albums, finding pictures of us at Nathan's hospital galas, our hands intertwined, smiling for the camera. I pulled bank statements showing our shared mortgage, utility bills, even Christmas cards addressed to Dr. and Mrs. Hayes. Each piece felt like a brick in the wall I was building to protect myself. But it wasn't just about the law. I was rediscovering parts of myself I'd buried. Late at night, when the house was quiet, I started taking online graphic design courses, rekindling the passion I'd abandoned. The glow of my laptop felt like a lifeline, a reminder I was more than Nathan's housekeeper. The hardest part was keeping it all secret. Nathan thought I was broken, moping around the house while he planned his new life with Lauren. He'd come home, barely acknowledging me, talking loudly on the phone about his future. I played along, keeping my head down, but inside I was plotting. I imagined the look on his face when he realized I wasn't the helpless woman he thought. Every time I felt like giving up, I pictured my parents' pride when I married Nathan, and how crushed they'd be if they knew the truth. I wasn't just fighting for me. I was fighting for them, for the life we'd all believed in. One evening, as I sorted through old emails for more evidence, I found a message from Nathan's mother sent years ago after our wedding. "Susan, you're the daughter we always wanted. Thank you for making Nathan's life complete. Tears stung my eyes. His parents had no idea what he'd done. I knew telling them would break their hearts, but it would also break Nathan's smug confidence. I wasn't ready to confront him yet, but I was close. The pieces were falling into place, and soon I'd show him that betraying me was the biggest mistake of his life. The day I decided to confront Nathan, my heart was pounding like a drum, but my resolve was iron. I'd spent weeks preparing, and I was done playing the quiet housewife. It was a humid Atlanta evening, the kind where the air clings to your skin. Nathan came home, tossing his jacket over the couch like nothing was wrong. I stood in the living room, arms crossed, the folder of evidence tucked under my arm. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. He raised an eyebrow, smirking. "What now, Susan? Ready to pack?" I took a deep breath and let it rip. "I know about Lauren. I know you've been sneaking around with her for a year. And I know you never registered our marriage." His smirk vanished, his face paling like he'd seen a ghost. "What? How?" he stammered. I held up the folder, photos and documents spilling out. "I hired a private investigator. I've got proof of your affair, Nathan. And I know we're not legally married, but here's the thing you didn't count on. Georgia recognizes common law marriages. I can claim alimony and half our assets. You thought you could leave me with nothing. You're wrong." Nathan's eyes widened, then narrowed. "You're bluffing. You're just a homemaker. You don't have the guts or the brains for this." His words stung, but I was ready. "Oh, I've got both," I said, stepping closer. "We had a wedding, Nathan. Our parents, our friends. Everyone saw us as married. We've shared a home, a bank account, a life for 12 years. That's enough for a common law claim. I've already got a lawyer, and she's ready to bury you." He laughed, but it was forced, shaky. "You think you can scare me? Go ahead, try. You'll just make a fool of yourself." That's when I made the call. I pulled out my phone and dialed his parents, then mine, putting them on speaker. "Mr. and Mrs. Hayes. I need you to come over. There's something you need to know." Nathan's face went from pale to ashen. "What are you doing?" he hissed. "You can't tell them." I ignored him, my heart racing but my voice calm. "They deserve the truth. You've lied to all of us for too long." An hour later, our living room was a battlefield. Nathan's parents, his father, a stern neurosurgeon, and his mother, a Southern belle with a steel spine, sat on one side of the couch. My parents, looking heartbroken but furious, sat on the other. Nathan's father glared at him, his voice low and sharp. "Is it true, Nathan? You didn't register the marriage?" Nathan's head hung low. "It's true," he muttered. "I didn't want to be tied down. I was forced into it." "Forced?" his mother snapped, her eyes blazing. "We wanted you to settle down, yes, but you lied to Susan, to us, for 12 years. My dad's face was red with anger. You used my daughter as a housekeeper, threatened her father's business, and now you're running off with some nurse?" Nathan's eyes darted to me, pleading, but I felt no pity. "You made your choice," I said coldly. My mother spoke up, her voice trembling with emotion. "We trusted you with our daughter, Nathan. We thought you'd build a life together. But you deceived her, kept her in a sham marriage, and now you're threatening us." Nathan's father grabbed his arm. "You threatened her family's business. Have you lost your mind?" Nathan yanked free, his voice rising. "You don't get it. I didn't love her. I only married her because you wouldn't stop pushing me." The room fell silent. Then my father stood, his voice like thunder. "You don't get to play the victim here. You had a choice, and you chose to deceive my daughter for over a decade." Nathan's mother turned to me, tears in her eyes. "Susan, we had no idea. We're so sorry." I nodded, my throat tight. "It's not your fault. But I'm done letting him control me." Nathan's bravado crumbled. "Susan, please. Don't tell anyone else. My career." Cut him off. "Your career's already in trouble." Lauren's been talking and the hospital's buzzing. You think you can threaten me and walk away? Think again. I turned to our parents. I'm taking him to court. He'll pay for what he did. My dad put his arm around me. His voice soft but firm. We're with you, Susan. Whatever you need. As Nathan's parents dragged him out, his mother promising to deal with him, I felt the weight lift. I wasn't broken. I was ready to fight. And I knew exactly what I needed to do next. The fallout came faster than a Georgia summer storm. By the next morning, whispers about Nathan and Lauren's affair were spreading through the hospital like wildfire. Tom, my investigator, called with an update. Susan, it's chaos over there. Lauren confronted Nathan in the middle of the cafeteria, waving your alimony notice in his face. Nurses, doctors, even patients overheard. They're the talk of the place. I couldn't help but smile, a bitter edge to it. Nathan thought he'd outsmarted me, but his perfect world was unraveling. I met with Sarah, my lawyer, in her downtown Atlanta office, a sleek space with a view of the city skyline. She spread out my evidence. Photos, bank statements, cards, and nodded approvingly. This is solid, Susan. With this and the common law precedent, we can demand alimony and half the assets. The house, savings, investments. He'll have to split it all. I hesitated, the reality sinking in. But he keeps saying I'm just a homemaker, that I didn't earn it. Sarah's eyes flashed. He's wrong. Your work at home enabled his career. Cooking, cleaning, hosting. Those have economic value. The law sees that, and so will the judge. We filed the claim that afternoon. $150,000 in alimony and half of our shared assets, including our Buckhead home. When Nathan got the notice, he called me furious. You're insane, Susan. Paid for everything. You think you can take my money? I stood in my kitchen, gripping the phone, my voice calm but sharp. You lied to me for 12 years, Nathan. You used me, threatened my family, and thought I'd walk away with nothing. That money's mine too. And I've got a job now, starting next week. I don't need you anymore. There was silence. Then a week. A job. I hung up, my heart pounding with triumph. I'd landed a freelance graphic design gig with a local marketing firm, a small but growing company that loved my portfolio from the online courses I'd taken. It wasn't just about the money. It was about reclaiming my identity, the one I'd buried to be Nathan's wife. I also found a cozy apartment in Midtown, a vibrant neighborhood with coffee shops and art galleries that felt like a fresh start. Packing up the house was painful, each photo, each knick-knack a reminder of the life I thought I had. But it was also freeing. I was building something new. Meanwhile, the hospital gossip grew louder. Tom sent me a recording of a nurse's conversation. Dr. Hayes and that nurse, Lauren, they've been sneaking around for a year. And get this. He never registered his marriage. His wife had no idea. Another voice chimed in. That's disgusting. Poor Susan. The rumor spread to patients, and soon Nathan and Lauren were ostracized. Lauren quit first, unable to handle the cold stares. Nathan followed, his reputation in tatters. My dad called me one evening, his voice heavy. The hospital's talking about Nathan's resignation. They asked me not to pull our contract, Susan. I told them I'd think about it. But this is because of you, isn't it? I nodded, though he couldn't see. I didn't ask you to do anything, Dad. But I'm glad they know the truth. I sent Lauren an alimony notice too, since she knowingly participated in Nathan's deception. She called me panic. Susan. Nathan said there'd be no alimony. I can't pay this. Kept my voice steady. You knew he was married, Lauren. You thought you'd both walk away clean. But you're wrong. Pay up or we'll see you in court. She hung up, but my lawyer later confirmed she'd settled, too shaken by the public scandal to fight. The final meeting with Nathan was in Sarah's office. He looked smaller, his arrogance gone. I'll pay the alimony, he muttered, avoiding my eyes. Half the assets too. Just leave me alone. Sarah slid the papers across the table, her voice crisp. Sign here, Dr. Hayes. He did, his hand shaking. As he left, I felt a strange mix of relief and sorrow. Not for him, but for the years I'd lost. I walked out into the Atlanta sun, my new life waiting. A few months after the settlement, I moved into my midtown apartment, a bright space with big windows and a tiny balcony where I sipped coffee and sketched designs for my new clients. My freelance graphic design business was picking up, and for the first time in years, I felt like Susan Jones again. Not Dr. Hayes' wife, just me. I started going to art galleries, meeting new people. And one day at a local design meetup, I met David, an architect with warm brown eyes and a laugh that made my heart skip. He listened to my story, not with pity, but with admiration. "You're a fighter," he said one evening over dinner. Most people would have crumbled. I blushed, but his words stayed with me. David and I grew close, and one quiet morning, we walked into the Fulton County Courthouse together to register our marriage. I told him everything about Nathan, and he insisted we file the paperwork side by side. "No secrets," he said, squeezing my hand. As we signed the forms, I felt a weight lift. My new marriage was real, legal, and built on trust. My parents threw us a small backyard party, their faces glowing with pride. My dad pulled me aside, his eyes misty. "You're happy, aren't you?" I nodded, hugging him tight. "Happier than ever, Dad." About a year later, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. It was Nathan. "Heard you got remarried," he said, his voice bitter. "Guess who moved on fast?" I stood on my balcony, the Atlanta skyline sparkling in the distance. "Yeah, Nathan, I did. To a man who doesn't lie about marriage licenses. You told me I'd be nothing without you. But look at me now. I've got my own business, a home, a real marriage." He laughed, but it was hollow. "Bet you didn't register it. You're too naive for that." Smiled unshaken. "We did it together. And honestly, Nathan, I feel sorry for you. You'll never find happiness if you keep hurting people." I hung up, my heart light. I didn't care what kind of life he was living. I was free. My new life wasn't perfect. There were late nights working on designs, moments of doubt when I remembered Nathan's betrayal. But every step felt like mine. I'd taken my pain and turned it into strength, and that was enough. David and I built a home filled with laughter, sketches pinned to the walls, and plans for a future I couldn't wait to live. To everyone who's followed this journey, thank you. You've walked with me through betrayal, battles, and a hard-won victory. If my story stirred something in you, hit that subscribe button and join me. Every scar tells a story of survival. Every choice, a chance for a new beginning. Keep fighting for your truth, and I'll meet you on the other side.